I think most Americans understand, so long as they're not high-placed officials in the DNC, that a lot of people are hurting around this country. We say that they have been left behind by the economic system. Most people seem to understand that. But what's really interesting is for some of them, their ability to understand that seems to be highly contingent on some racial considerations. So take a look at some of this polling results that we have from HuffPost, YouGov. Let's bring up this first one. What you're going to see there is level of agreement among just Trump voters. The red bar is, do you agree that average Americans have gotten less than they deserve? 64% agree. Blacks have gotten less than they deserve, 12%. The only thing that changed was blacks and average Americans. Now, we didn't say whites. The first statement was relatively benign. But all of a sudden, when it's black people who, unless you for some reason believe that the average African American is significantly better off than the average American, which I don't think a lot of Trump voters think is the case, it seems like there's some racism in that evaluation.
Okay, so as usual, let's explain that we didn't invent this poll. They polled Trump voters. So if you're mad at anyone, be mad at Trump voters. Well, our job is to report it, okay?
Oh, an important thing to say, half the people got the first version, half got the second version. So it's not like they saw the first and then that changed what they said for the second answer. They didn't know that there was an experiment going on.
Right. So the funny thing is, on the first half, I agree with them. 64% of them said that the average American is getting less than they deserve. And I can explain to you exactly how that's happening and how the tax code has been manipulated by the rich and powerful so that the multinational corporations pay less taxes and the average American pays more taxes now as a share of the overall pie than you used to. I can show you how they kept your wages down. So Trump voters, your sense that the average American is getting screwed, you're right. And in fact, of all the different voters, Hillary Clinton voters, Republicans, Democrats, overall independents, the Trump voters most accurately assessed that the average American was getting screwed. They had the highest score there, 64%, right? But think about why on the other hand, they think African Americans are not in that same boat.
Yeah.
Now, John's right. It's not like African Americans are rich. No, they're the poorest
Some are.
Demographic overall, right? When you look at the different ethnic breakdowns, unfortunately, African Americans are in the lowest bracket. So it's not like you can go, well, they're all rich. Of course they got more than they deserve. But even that, for Trump voters, are like, no, they're not like that. They're not like the rest of us. But they're not like the rest of us. Why? Not because they have a lot of money, but for them, for whatever reason, in their head, black people don't deserve it. Mm-hmm. I deserve it. The average American deserves it, but black people don't deserve it.
Yeah.
They're somehow getting more than they deserve, even though they're in the worst economic situation.
Yeah.
Now, if that's not racism, then I invite you to come up with a different word.
Yeah.
Because it's something that's a significant phenomenon that's in their heads. And you know why. Because Republican media, right-wing media, drilled it into their heads, and so did politicians. Oh, and started with Reagan, oh, the welfare queens. They're getting all this welfare and they're living high on the hog. Really? Where are they? If they're living high on the hog, why aren't they in the highest economic bracket?
And why don't
Or even in the middle economic bracket?
Why don't you go on welfare then and live this glorious, luxurious life? Just do that if it's so
great.
easy.
And by the way, a lot of them are on food stamps, but for some reason...
Oh, so they're living high on the hog then?
Yeah, but when they see a black person on food stamps, they think like, oh, no, he doesn't deserve it. I mean, I deserve it. I'm getting screwed. But he doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
And so you've got this situation where they think, I should have it, but blacks shouldn't.
Yeah.
And it's not me saying it. It's them. It's right there in the polling.
Yeah. Yeah, and they go into it in some of the analyses of this data. And you can see it. Like I watched, Fusion had a documentary by Nano Vila, Trumpland, where they stay with some Trump voting families and they talk to them and they find out what they really think. It was like a super unbiased attempt to just understand what they believe. And some of the things they believe is absolutely crazy and discriminatory. But anyway, you see when they talk about it, why have you and other average Americans, everyday Americans, been left behind? And they talk about it as, well, there's outsourcing and, the government's screwing us over. They help out the corporations. They don't help out us. It's these big tidal forces, these structural forces that you don't have personal control over. It's the fact that, we're moving to more robotics and they're taking our jobs. So it's these big things. Why do blacks not deserve it? Because they're lazy. because they're stupid, they don't work hard, they don't want it, there's something culturally wrong with them. Well, so does the outsourcing not affect them? Does the robotics not affect them? These huge structural forces seem to have completely not affected them for some weird reason. Isn't that strange?
And the converse is true too. If they're bums for being out of work, why aren't you a bum for being out of work?
Yeah.
Right? And the reality is neither one of you are bums. Yes, those forces are you're right about those forces, but they also apply to African Americans. But you can't see that because you've been taught by right-wing propaganda. Oh no, they're lazy. I know how they are. I'm a good, I deserve it. I got screwed by these forces I can't understand. But blacks, they had it coming.
And this is why it frustrates me so much when people say that there's no racism. And people, it sounds ridiculous if you watch the show, but people actually believe it. And they really do think you can look at 10, 20 million African Americans and judge all of them as lazy and undisciplined, and 200 million white Americans and say that they're just being screwed over by NAFTA. Man, there's lazy people in every group. There's well-disciplined people in every single group. Yep. If you can look at a group of millions of people and say who they are, you're a fucking racist, okay? I'm sorry, that's simply what it is. Now look, in case you think, well, the Trump voters, it's 12% versus 64%, that's crazy. Maybe we're just a really racist country. Generally, I think that you're right, but the data doesn't confirm it in this case. Let's bring up Clinton voters. How much did they agree? Literally 57% for both. The same. Average Americans and blacks. Same percent say that they've gotten less than they deserve.
So the answer didn't have to be 64-12. It turns out there's a little over half the country who thinks, no, average Americans are getting screwed. Blacks are part of average Americans. Why wouldn't they be? They're getting screwed just as much as the average American is.
Yeah.
So it didn't have to be like that. Let's look at the overall numbers, and you see it breaks down by race as well. Full sample, unfortunately, still not great. 57% of Americans saying the average Americans getting less than they deserve. Again, that's accurate, but only 32% of the average American thinks that of black people. And when you get to African Americans, they think they're being screwed over, but only a tiny bit more than the average American. And I happen to think that they might be exactly right. Right? Because as you can tell from these polls themselves, there is racism in the country, which puts them at a slight further disadvantage than the average American. So I think they're probably exactly right, but pretty close, right? Whereas whites, it's more than 2-to-1 saying, no, I'm being screwed over, but black people aren't.
Yeah. And look, you see, compare the percentage for the blacks have gotten less between all whites and Trump voters. They're not the same as other even white people in terms of their racism. They're a special form. And that's why, look, there are a lot of reasons that the election went the way they did, a lot of reasons that people supported Donald Trump. Don't believe anybody who says there's only one reason and they can sell it to you. But racial resentment is a big one, okay? And they scale people on these surveys on how much racial resentment they have. Like, for instance, by responding that blacks don't deserve stuff, are they lazy, all that. And there's almost no stronger correlation between your placement on that scale and whether you support Donald Trump or not. That's not fake news. I'm sorry, that's not made up. Poll after poll after poll, before the election and after the election, show that. And so that was an element that went into the support for Donald Trump.
And finally, to John's earlier point, we don't want to make the same mistake they do, and I hope that progressives are smart enough to realize that, and I think 99%, maybe I'm being too generous to progressives. I think 99% of us understand that, which is that not all white people are the same. Of course! And you cannot make judgment calls on white people based on the color of their skin. And so, and even the ones that seem like they are putting African Americans in a different category, it's not because they think, I hope and I imagine that they think, oh, I hate black people. Or if you ask them, hey, are black people okay or are they the worst? They would answer, no, they're the worst. Some would, the alt-right, the white supremacists would answer that. But the majority of the people in these polls would not say that, right? They would say, no, they're fine. Everybody's the same. You shouldn't look at skin color. My guess is they would say that,
They don't
right?
see it.
Yeah. But when you break it down, and the propaganda has affected them. And so when you ask it in a way of, hey, do you think that they are getting less than they deserve? Oh, no way. No way. Blacks are getting more than they deserve. Okay? How about you? Oh, I'm getting way less. He doesn't know that he's making a racial judgment call there.
Yeah.
He doesn't think, if you ask me, he's like, I don't hate black people, what are you talking about? And my buddy down the street's black, right? And we get along fine, right? And we drink beers together. But when you ask him that macro question, no. They're getting more than they deserve, even though they're the low socioeconomic class, right?
Exactly.
Me, I'm not getting enough. It's just, I'm asking you to think about why you came to that conclusion if you're in that group, right?
Yeah.
Because if you break it down, you might find out, oh, that's a good point. Maybe I should, if I really believe that everybody should be treated the same no matter what their skin color is, maybe I should act on that. Let's go take on the corporate media. Come join us, be a member, and change the media. tytnetwork.com/join.